Hi, my name is David McCoul, and I'm going to show you the steps I took to remaster the audio and video of the CPAC Understudy Performance of the Mikado. The remastered footage on this DVD doesn't look bad, but it's not exactly of stunning quality either. However, compared to the original VHS tape footage, I've managed to improve the look and sound of the footage dramatically. It's my hope that this brief demonstration will give you an appreciation of this improvement that the remastering process allowed. Now, there's no set, widely accepted method to remaster old footage. I've simply just done whatever made the tape look and sound better. My software of choice in this endeavor was Adobe After Effects Creative Suite 3 for the video, and Apple Soundtrack Pro for the audio. For the purposes of this demonstration, I've selected a couple short clips to focus on, each from the musical number If You Want to Know Who We Are. We'll start off by taking a look at just the video. Notice the tape static at the bottom of the screen, as well as the uneven vertical black bars on the left and right of the screen. To eliminate the edge static, I'm actually going to grow the image slightly to crop off that stuff on the edges. There. Next, notice how incredibly blurry and out of focus the video looks? Well, I then applied an unsharp mask 2 times to sharpen it up. Don't let the name fool you. Unsharp mask simply means sharpening filter. So let's go ahead and do that. That's looking a lot better already. I set this unsharp mask to 400 because a lot of sharpening was needed, and the radius to 0.5 so that a higher detail was sharpened. Now let's apply sharpening filter number 2. Notice how this improves the focus even further. This sharpening filter works at twice the radius as the previous one, making the remaining sharpening needed to be only 85 in amount. At this point, you'll notice horizontal lines becoming apparent. This is called interlacing. Every video consists of still images played quickly enough to be perceived as fluid motion, usually around 1/30th of a second per frame. Unlike movie film, a videotape combines frames by overlapping them. This overlapping looks like thin horizontal lines. These lines are most apparent when there's a lot of motion. With all that sharpening, the interlacing looks overly harsh. To take the edge off of some of that overly sharpened interlacing, I'm now going to apply a filter that After Effects calls Reduce Interlace Flicker. I'm only going to apply a low amount of softening of 0.3, because if I put too much, it'll start making the video look fuzzy again. See how it's getting too fuzzy? So we'll just want enough to get rid of the appearance of interlacing, but not enough to make the sharpened image look blurry. Now let's do some color correction. First, I'm going to enhance the vividness of the color by using a saturation filter. But rather than applying a saturation boost to all colors at the same time, I'm going to boost the saturation of each color individually, like so. Reds, yellows, greens, cyans, blues, and magentas. The final step in restoring the video is a shadow highlight filter. This will make objects that are too bright look less washed out, and objects that are too dark stand out more. Overall, this filter will make everything look a lot more visible. First, I'll brighten the shadows by 4. And I'll darken the highlights by 15. Finally, to restore some of the original contrast, I'll blend this with the original by 1/3. And that pretty much sums up what I did to fix the video portion of the footage. Look at a before and after of just the video. Next, here's what I did to remaster the audio. First, I noticed that the recording was in stereo, with 2 separate channels, left and right speakers, but that the peaks were very close together. This gives the effect of a mono or one-speaker recording. Mono recordings don't sound very real because people are binaural, that is, we have 2 ears capable of interpreting 2 separate sound streams simultaneously. Luckily, we can spread the stereo image to make the recording sound less mono and more realistic. I accomplished this using Soundtrack Pro's Stereo Spread feature. After experimenting, I came up with settings that produce the best sound. Here's the sound before and after the stereo spread.
We are children of Japan. We are children of Japan.
Next, the frequencies, or constituent pitches, of the sound needed changed a little bit. I performed this frequency equalization using a channel EQ filter. I softened the frequencies that had excessive undesirable resonances, such as mid-frequency hum. I also wanted to boost the frequencies where the vocals tend to live, as well as the bass frequencies, which were lacking. A large Q value means a shorter range of frequencies will be either softened or boosted. When softening the 2 treble mid-range frequencies, I wanted to be sure not to take away too many additional frequencies from the original sound, so I chose a high Q value of 100. Conversely, I wanted to affect a much broader range of frequencies when boosting the highs and lows, so I used a much smaller Q value of 1.5 and 2.0 for each. Here's a before and after.
We are children of Japan. We are children of Japan.
Third, there were about 5 really loud peaks throughout the audio track, but the rest of the audio levels were really soft. I couldn't just make the entire track louder, because when we come to the peaks, clipping, or distortion, will occur, which we want to try to avoid. The solution was to apply a slight dynamic range compression to the entire track. This makes the loud peaks softer, while making the soft regions of audio louder. This will allow me to make the entire track louder without clipping. Now, I don't want to bog you down with exact settings, but this was basically a 2.7 to 1 compression at a negative 19.9 decibel threshold. Once again, here's a before and an after.
We are children of Japan. We are children of Japan.
Finally, the performance was given in a venue where the acoustics didn't allow for any real ambience or reverberation that you would expect to hear during a classical music performance. So I decided to add some reverb to make the performance sound even better. As a rule, music will almost always sound better with at least a little bit of reverb added. Very dry instruments don't sound natural because every instrument you hear is the result of its interaction with the surrounding room or space, which always adds reverb to some extent. Take a listen to the recording before I apply the reverb, and then after.
We are children of Japan. We are children of Japan.
And that wraps up all I needed to do with the audio. Listen to a before and after.
We will